What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and most importantly, please make sure you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. And with the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And today we have to talk about a very interesting story in which there is a congresswoman who is definitely coming across as if she's trying to protect the Mexican cartel, right? Before we dive into that story, though, what I want to do first is that I want to play this quick clip from you for you here of Van Jones on CNN, essentially telling the truth about the current state of the Democrat Party. Now, many of you have seen this clip already as it has gone viral on X. So if you have, by all means, feel free to fast forward a minute and 38 seconds once this clip starts. But it's very necessary for me to play this because it's definitely going to help set up the greater conversation that I want to have concerning the meat of this video surrounding the congresswoman who once again appears to be protecting the Mexican cartel. So let's get into this clip first, and then we'll dive into the deeper discussion.
Yeah. And then just lastly, Van, in terms of Democrats and where they go from here, this last week we did see them some people try to protest during the president's address, and then House leadership getting onto them, other Democrats calling them out. They still seem to be wandering around trying to figure this out. What's your take?
Can we ask another question? Do I be talking about my own party? can we talk about Ukraine or something? No. Look, man, we're screwed. I mean, we don't know. No, Democrats don't know what to do. This is a nightmare. Somebody like Donald Trump, we thought we'd at least have Hakeem Jeffries in the speaker's chair to hold him back if we didn't have Kamala in there to do the right thing. Listen, the Democratic Party is going through a massive set of internal crises. You have a party that got trapped two ways. One, defending a broken status quo that nobody likes because they thought that Donald Trump was going to make it worse. But when you're defending the status quo, you're going to lose. And then offending most people in the country, calling everybody sexist and racist and transphobic and every other name, and then saying, please follow us. That's not a good strategy, folks. Defending a broken status quo and offending most of the country turns out is not as popular as my party thought it was going to be. And so it's going to take a while for people to get it figured out. I don't like talking about this. I'd rather be beat up. Can you give me something I can beat up Shermichael about? I don't want to talk about my own party.
I know. It's a tough question.
Van Jones has been giving it up like this ever since Donald Trump won the election. He's just been telling the absolute truth, right, concerning the current state of the Democrat Party and how they're in the middle of a nightmare right now. They have no sense of direction, and they're supporting the status quo. They're essentially supporting a broken system just for the sake of being opposed to Donald Trump. And this is something that I've spoken on numerous times over, and now that leads us into the greater discussion surrounding a situation going on right now in which multiple tunnels have been discovered, right? Tunnels that have been dug out by the cartel to which they are smuggling drugs and humans under. So I want to zoom in here and I want to read this X off, or tweet, as I like to say. Cartel tunnel discovered at El Paso border. Border Patrol discovered a reinforced tunnel connecting Ciudad Juarez to El Paso, complete with lights and structural supports, likely used for smuggling. It's a stark reminder of the cartel's growing sophistication. Let's stop right there. Their growing sophistication is something that we have discussed numerous times over on this channel. The cartel has grown a lot more sophisticated, and you would expect that to happen once they have spent the last 4 years making billions of dollars hand over fist smuggling illegal immigrants across the border due to Joe Biden. They were making an amount of money that surpassed how much money they were making selling drugs and smuggling drugs into the country. That's how lucrative that business was until Trump came into office and essentially shut it down. But now, since shutting it down, it has been proven at this point that they have gotten significantly more sophisticated. We've talked about on this channel how they have weaponized drones now. This is one of the many reasons that we are militarizing our border and that Trump has designated them as a terrorist group, because at this point they're growing more and more unpredictable within their sophistication, right? So now let's bring it back into this tweet here, because I want to finish this out before we get into the congresswoman who appears to be a lunatic. So I'll start here. The find sparked a massive response from US and Mexican authorities, including Border Patrol, Texas DPS, and Homeland Security. Investigators are determining how long it's been active and its purpose. When walls go up, cartels dig under. This is the border crisis laid bare. And I just want to, zoom in a little bit so you can see this larger. But, look at this here. Look at these tunnels. Very sophisticated underground tunnels that are leading from Mexico straight into El Paso, right? Without any resistance. They built this with no problem. They have the beams to, reinforce the tunnel and make sure it doesn't collapse. They have electricity running all through the tunnel coming from Mexico into the United States. And with this find coming about, what has now since happened is that there is a bill that was introduced and overwhelmingly passed through the House of Representatives, a bill that was introduced and created by Representative Eli Crane, who was a Republican from the 2nd District in Arizona, right? I want to take a moment to play a clip of him speaking on his bill. And then we're going to get into the DNC lunatic who actually voted against this bill. And it was a bill that's put in place essentially to put an end to, monitor, and destroy these tunnels, right? So let's get into that right now.
The Subterranean Border Defense Act would help us address the growing threat of illicit cross-border tunnels by requiring annual reports to Congress on counter-tunneling operations, fortifying our security system at the border. Put simply, this would help ensure that Congress has the necessary data to forge another much-needed layer of defense. As transnational criminal organizations continue to grow in both size and sophistication, illicit cross-border tunnels along the southwest border of the United States represent a significant and growing threat to national security. Congress must address this deadly threat and ensure U.S. Customs and Border Protection has the resources needed to acquire counter-tunnel technology. Since 1990, officials have discovered more than 140 tunnels that have breached the U.S. border, with an 80% increase in tunnel activity occurring since 2008.
So now let's take a look at this here. Justin, the House voted 402 to 1 to pass the Subterranean Border Defense Act, a bill introduced by Representative Eli Crane to authorize congressional oversight of underground tunnels at the border. In this current political climate, a bill passing 402 to 1 at this point is unprecedented. It really is, because the kind of lunacy that we've seen from the DNC, in which they oppose Trump and Republicans just for the sake of opposing them, it's looking like they're finally beginning to understand that if they want to have any shot at surviving the midterms, let alone surviving the next decade, if not more, as a relevant political party, at some point they're going to have to come back to the table on common sense issues that the American people are actually in support of. This is a bill that was introduced and put in place by a Republican, and you see the Democrats, all except for one, AOC fell in line, Ilhan Omar fell in line. Even loudmouth Jasmine Crockett fell in line. But who is the only person, the lone wolf, that Trump derangement syndrome is still severely affecting? Well, here she goes right here. Representative Rashida Tlaib. Rashida Tlaib is the only one The sole lone DNC lunatic that opposes this bill, a common sense bill and a common sense law. I mean, really think about this. You have to be a sick, deranged individual to be against a bill like this that clearly benefits the cartel if it doesn't pass. Now, obviously it did, but like I said, the derangement is so bad that Rashida Tlaib is willing to assist the cartel by trying to make it a point to ensure that this doesn't pass. This is sick. And this woman has no business holding office. She needs to get voted out immediately. Like I said, even Jasmine Crockett voted for this. And Jasmine Crockett is someone who called the Lake and Riley Act stupid, which that in and of itself is really foolish to say. But this goes to show how deep the derangement is. And I'm very curious as to how long the Democrats can continue to stomach essentially admitting the Republicans are right on these issues by voting in unison with them in order to pass common sense bills. I'm really not sure that this is something that they can continue to do, because for me, Rashida Tlaib signals 100% who the Democrats actually are. Let me make this photo bigger of her so we can get a better look at her face. She's the perfect representation of who they are: stubborn, hard-headed, and completely deranged. Completely deranged. Despite this here, they're still getting on television and going on news networks, spouting lies, saying a bunch of stuff that isn't true concerning Trump, concerning Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, concerning Doge cuts, so on and so forth. Lie after lie after lie after lie that has proven to not be true. And though in this particular instant, we've seen that the Republicans, or I should say the Democrats, have actually fallen in line, I think that this was a very hard pill for them to swallow. But I also think that they won't be swallowing many more pills like this coming forth and moving forward in the future, because this is a very tough thing for them to do. It's very tough for them to admit that MAGA is right. It's very tough for them to admit and get on board with common sense issues when they're more concerned with hating Trump and being very bitter about it and being very nasty about it, not just towards Trump, not just towards Elon Musk, but towards the American people, who they often refer to as just being uneducated and stupid people like us who voted for Trump. We just don't know any better, and we just don't know and understand enough. I'm not so sure that they've actually learned their lesson. And I'm very curious to what you think about that as well. Like I said, 402 to 1, I didn't see that coming. I didn't see AOC, Jasmine Crockett, and Ilhan Omar voting on anything that's a common sense issue, with Rashida Tlaib being the lone lunatic. But I don't see this carrying on and moving forward. I just can't see it. I think it's going to get so bad to the point to where a few of them, particularly Rashida Tlaib, may actually get primaried in the midterms. She might actually get bounced out of here. But let me know what you all think in the comment section below. Do you think the Democrats will actually keep this up with voting on the right side of common sense issues, or is this a one-time thing and they'll eventually collapse? Because Trump derangement syndrome is a very real thing, and Rashida Tlaib is proving that to be very true. Anyways, with all that being said, that does it for today's news. So I want to thank you all for joining me today. Please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video out on your social media platforms. And also don't forget to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegram is in the description box below and pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you all for your time. And to the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.